Welcome everybody to the Hero's Journey podcast, the sacred space where you can kiss your doubt goodbye and embark with confidence and love on your quest to become the hero on your own journey back to wholeness. Together with brilliant minds, we venture into the unknown to revive and mend what is torn and to patch what is missing. And I'm so excited to introduce you to Aharon. He's a beautiful friend of mine, also someone that I was blessed within the Joe Dispenza community. We also went together with a bunch of other people to Poland, and I got to know him in person. He has such a beautiful heart, such a lovely energy, and we talked a little bit about his journey, and I think it's really, really inspiring. And I'm so happy that you're here with us today to share your light, to share your story. Thank you so much for that. And yes, let's start into accompanying you along your journey. And I want to hand the mic over to you and ask you, where do you think your journey has started, or what was a significant initiation into your change to where you are now?
Thank you, Anne-Sophie. It's really good to be on this podcast after meeting you during the summer and then listening to a bunch of different episodes, and it's kind of surreal to actually be on here to hear the introduction and to be the one live with you on the podcast. So my healing journey started when I was 19. I was in some sort of I was already interested in spirituality, and I was already practicing some yoga and joining some group meditations in the program I was in, and I was already, headed in the direction of like, what more is there to life? But I was kind of searching, and I was also I was a stoner at the time. I used to smoke weed quite a bit, and I was also experimenting with psychedelics, and then I started getting sick at some point. Like I had digestive problems, and they were kind of intense. So like a lot of diarrhea and all kinds of symptoms that I won't list them out because they won't be very pleasant to listen to. But I was kind of like, I wasn't sure what was wrong for a few weeks. I was having all these symptoms, and then I went to a doctor, and she suspected that it was dysentery. So she gave me antibiotics for 3 days, and she also tested me to see what it was after she already gave me the medicine. And I took the antibiotics for a few days, and then I went back and got my results for the test, and apparently I didn't have dysentery. I had a parasite, and that parasite wasn't responding, of course, to the dysentery antibiotics. So she said, okay, now you have to take these other antibiotics. The dysentery ones, I had to take them maybe once or twice a day for 3 days, and of course it wasn't making me any better. I was just getting worse. And now for the parasite, she wanted me to take 4 capsules of one very potent kind of antibiotics, and to only take that once, and that should do the work. So that's like 2,000 milligrams of this antibiotics. That each pill is 500, and you need like a mega dose in order to kill the parasite. Oof. So after taking the antibiotics for the dysentery, now I'm taking antibiotics for a parasite. And at first I felt, it didn't make me feel any better at first. I felt really bad. But then after a week or two, I started feeling like I was getting my strength back. And I started feeling gradually a little bit better. And then that program that I was in for a year, that was over, and I had some time off. So I decided to fly to America. By the way,
You mean study program that you were, or what kind of program are you referring to?
Yeah, I was in a study program. It was it wasn't like any certificate kind of thing. It was more like a self-exploration program. That we were living there, a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds after high school, and kind of just
Nice.
like, yeah. And by the way, I live in Israel. I grew up here my whole life, and I have a lot of family in America. My parents are from the United States. So at the end of the program, when I was feeling a little bit better physically, I was recovering from the whole parasite saga. So I decided to go to the United States, and I had a big family reunion over there, and I decided to take the time and spend a few months traveling in the United States, visiting family, and I spent some time with my grandparents for a couple of months, and then I was planning on doing this big adventure. I took all the money that I had and bought a one-way ticket, and I trusted that I would work in the States and that things would unfold beautifully. So I spent time at my grandparents' house the first month, and my aunt helped me get a job, and that was all right. And then the family reunion came around, and I got to see a bunch of family. But after a month of being in the States, my symptoms started getting worse again. I
Ooh.
didn't understand why. I thought I had a parasite and it was over. Was I why was I sicker now? And it just
Mm.
kept getting worse, and I lost a lot of weight, um, and I had fevers, and I didn't know what was up, and things just got worse, and I really insisted on traveling because I didn't want to just like go to my parents and go back home.
Yeah.
So I decided to travel even though I was in bad physical shape, and after a while of traveling for a couple of weeks, I was like, okay, if I wanna if I wanna live, I should go back home and
Mm.
let my mom take care of me and maybe go to a doctor and get tested and I got home. I was not feeling very well at all. I developed all these other new symptoms like
Mm.
canker sores, like these sores inside my mouth,
Mm.
um, and like I had suddenly had this like wound on my that kept growing, like um, things just started showing up, and it was just really odd. And when I got home, my ankle started really hurting, and like all these
Mhm.
bizarre symptoms. And I went to a doctor and I got some blood tests. I was very anemic, and
Ooh.
yeah, I was very much underweight. I was like 40 kilograms.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's around 80 pounds or 80 something pounds. I'm not sure exactly. But I was very much underweight, and very weak, and my ankle hurt so bad I couldn't walk on it for like a week and a half or 2 weeks. And but the nice thing is that my mom she really knows a lot about holistic health and diet and nutrition and all that kind of stuff. So she kind of like nursed me back to health, and she had a book in her house, "You Can Heal Your Life" by Louise Hay.
Mm.
So that was
Beautiful.
like that. I started reading that book, and I would lay. My mom had a she didn't have a bedroom for me, but she had like a couch that turned into a bed in the living room, and that was my spot. And I was just like there all the time, and she would like mix up all these like all these powders and supplements and stuff into like nutritious food, and she would feed me that,
Mhm.
and I would read that book, and I felt like every chapter that I read on that book of You Can Heal Your Life, I felt better. I felt better emotionally. I felt stronger physically, and that from being very very weak, suddenly I was like not just laying down on the bed. I was actually sitting up more, and
Mhm.
I wasn't able to walk because of the pain in my ankle. So like for that week or two, I would like I had a like an office chair with
Mhm.
wheels, and I would like jump on one leg from the bed to the office chair, roll to the bathroom, jump on one leg from the office chair to the toilet, do whatever I
Mm.
had to do, and then do the whole thing
Mm.
again of jumping to the office chair and rolling to the bed. Like that was all the movement I had in that like for that
Wow.
week. Um, yeah, and then of course we got the results of the anemia and all that, and the doctor said I had to be admitted to a hospital right away.
Mhm.
And I went there, and I was really relieved because of the ankle thing, because we didn't know what that was about. Apparently, it was an abscess.
Oh.
Um, yeah, so that like a lot of pain and stuff. But at the ER, they already like they gave me morphine, and they put a hole in my ankle, and they took out all the toxic stuff that was in there.
Was it in the
And
bone, or was it? No, it was
no,
in
it was just I
in
don't
the
know. It was
flesh.
just somewhere in the ankle.
Oh, okay.
But then I started recovering. They gave me like a lot of antibiotics for the infections that I had, and they gave me blood donations. They gave me iron in the vein. They gave me like all like I had like I was there for 5 days,
Uh,
um, and by the end of 5 days, I was feeling a lot better. I was able to walk again. I was feeling a little bit stronger, and then the doctor recommended I do colonoscopy. So they scheduled a colonoscopy session for me, and I was just like relieved to be able to walk again and like to get another chance to like slowly feel better. And I was eating like a lot of food to try to gain weight because I lost weight very fast, but gaining weight was very, very challenging for me. So like I would eat like 5 meals a day of like a lot of food, and and I was starving, and I would eat so much, but like it wouldn't go anywhere. It would
oh
like,
no.
but it took a while, and eventually I gained it back, and I went to the colonoscopy, and I got tested, and apparently I had Crohn's disease.
Oh,
I was diagnosed with Crohn's.
can you elaborate on what Crohn's disease actually is? Because I've heard the name a couple of times, but to be honest, I don't really know what it is. Is it an autoimmune
Yeah,
disease
it's
or?
autoimmune. It's
Mm-hmm.
autoimmune, and it's part of IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease. So it's inflammation in
Mm-hmm.
the gut.
Okay.
For me, it was they diagnosed that it was both in the large intestine and in the small intestine, and they said it looked pretty bad. They wanted me to go on steroids right away.
Oh.
But I was like, oh, steroids. I thought that was bad. Like, I don't want to go on steroids.
Mm.
And my mom, she was there, and she was like, okay, like, you could think about it. Like, yeah, if you don't want steroids, like, that's okay, but you're gonna need to, change your lifestyle, your diet. You're gonna need to take care of yourself if you're gonna wanna like get better. You can't just like, continue business as usual. You can't just keep eating pizzas or, you know. Basically, I started going off gluten and dairy and
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of processed foods and and also that week after being diagnosed. By the way, my mom, she's also she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, so she's on her own healing journey for the last several years.
Mm.
And we saw this. Um, she was interested in kambo. Have you heard of kambo?
Mm-mm.
It's a kind of shamanic thing from South America where it comes from this green forest frog, and they take this secretion from the frog, and then
Yeah.
they do these little burns on your skin, and then they put that stuff on there, and then within a short amount of time you start throwing up, and it's basically a very intense detox. And it's
Mm.
also supposed to, boost immune function and pain relief and all kinds of stuff. So my mom and I, we both went to this retreat that weekend after I was diagnosed, and just like to do this healing retreat with these rituals, with rebirthing, breathing, and yoga in the morning, and combo sessions 2 days straight of doing like a bunch of different things and meditation um, and that was pretty powerful. And I think that maybe contributed to strengthening me after that. And gradually I started my recovery process, and I got a job as a waiter. And then within another month of doing that, and I tried going to festivals again, like to with friends and music
Mm.
and workshops, and tried to come back into my life and recover and do and enjoy my life actually. But then there was the holiday. There was a holiday, and there was a lot of work at the restaurant. And the manager, he was very angry. Like he was very stressed, and he would yell at the workers,
Oh.
and yeah, it wasn't very fun environment to work at. And especially when the holiday, and he wanted us to work extra shifts and long shifts. And then I started feeling like my symptoms were getting worse again. And then I started feeling this pain, and it was a pain in the ass. It was a pain in the butt, and yeah, it literally, that's
Literally.
where it hurt. Yeah, um, and I just felt really sick, and I decided I was already planning to go to this festival, this music festival with two other friends, and I went. And I was supposed to continue working the following week, but I was sick. Like the entire festival, they were like out dancing and stuff, and I was just like laying down, and it was cold, and I was barely outside. I found this workshop space or this room, and it had like a heater on, and I was just like laying down there for like half the festival. I was like resting and sleeping, and like I was tired, and I was like cold, and I was pale, and I wasn't feeling well at all, and I had this pain in the ass. So I called my boss on the way back, and I'm like, I'm not coming to work tomorrow. I'm sick, and I just spent, and I set an appointment for a gastro doctor to see what was up, to see like like why I was getting worse and how I could do better. And the closest appointment was a month ahead. So I spent a few weeks again on the couch, resting most of the time, and I was feeling a bit depressed because, like, what, this is my life now? Like, I was still 19, and my friends were out having fun and stuff, and I was just like, I was just sick. I was just like tired, and like I didn't see like that was like a half a year of on and off feeling that way.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about what I would do after I got better, and I was thinking about, okay, I don't want to, like, I didn't have much money because I was only 19, and I wasn't working that time. Um, and I also didn't want to just stay in my mom's couch because I felt like that wasn't very much freedom. I felt like that was very limiting. So I started thinking about going back to that study program that I went to the year before. They had the main program for like 18, 19-year-olds straight out of high school, but they also had a program for people who have completed that year and who were older and wanted to just like have a more like a free time, but also like to be in that environment, like to live there in these simple rooms, and like to have the food and stuff, and to pay like a fee that was not expensive because it was basically simple living, but also like a good environment where you could like learn and stuff, and then maybe I could also like work somewhere and like stay there, and just like because that was a very good year. I really enjoyed that year. I felt like that was a lot of self-development and yoga and meditation, and I felt like that was a good environment for me with good vibes. So I was thinking about what I would do, like if I would move there, and if I would feel better, and how I would cook for myself, and how I would like just like I just imagine myself living there. And by the time and also I was like listening maybe to Abraham Hicks, and about like how like law of attraction and creating reality, and I was kind of like listening to YouTube videos and kind of like thinking my way into a better reality. Um, and by the time the doctor's appointment showed up, so I went to the doctor's appointment, basically just um, with just me and maybe like my wallet and my phone. And the doctor takes an ultrasound thing, and he puts it in the place where I had that pain. And he said, "Okay, you got an abscess. Like you have to be admitted to the hospital. You have to, like, you're not going home today." So, so then like I was again at the I got admitted for a week at the hospital, and the doctor said that because it was in such a sensitive place, they didn't want to operate like they did for my
Yeah.
ankle a few months prior. So all they did is they gave me three different kinds of antibiotics through the vein, and
Oh.
yeah, because they didn't want to operate on it, but they also wanted to make sure that they got it. So
Yeah.
they wanted to like get it from a few different antibiotics. So they gave me like in the morning, two in the afternoon, two in the evening. So it's three different kinds, each kind twice a day. And
Also strongly dosed again.
yeah,
Mm.
and so I was, laying in a hospital bed, and I didn't have any limitations for walking, so I was like walking around and stuff. And I mean, it was a nice hospital, and the nurses treated me well, and like then I was like listening to YouTube stuff, and I was like kind of like elevating my emotions, and I've already finished reading Louise Hay's book, um and I was kind of like I could tell how I was feeling better every day during that hospital stay. I was there for a week, and I could tell how the pain was going away day by day, and eventually I was feeling better. And oh, then the doctors were like, okay, so like if you want your Crohn's to get better, like if you don't want it to get worse, if you want to keep the symptoms at bay, so you take these biological medicines, because
Mm.
it was at the very beginning they wanted me to take steroids, but I didn't take the steroids, so that was no longer relevant. Now it's like for long term they wanted me to take these biological medicine that would like change stuff with the immune system, and they wanted me to take it for life, to inject myself
Okay.
every couple of weeks with this biological medicine. And I was like, yeah, it seems like if that's gonna play with my immune system, like I don't trust that. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to take that. Um, so I was like very skeptical about the drugs they wanted to give me, and they also wanted to give it to me for life. And I was like, I don't want to take medicine for life. That just sounds
No.
bad. So I went out of the
Understandable.
hospital, and I was like, I'll think about it. And I felt actually really good at the end of that week. After a month of being in bed and being like feeling depressed about how like I don't have a life, I suddenly felt like I got my life back. And I felt really, really good. And I felt so good that I just had all this energy, and I was so grateful for life. And instead of going straight home, taking a bus straight home, um, I decided to go to town and to go to the place I used to work, and to say hi to my friends, and like and then I saw this secondhand store, and I was like, oh, let's get like new clothes and like secondhand, but like
Mm.
and I was just like, it took me like 2 hours of like going to town, and then I finally went back home in the evening, and I just felt really good and energetic, and like I had this whole boost of energy. But I I just felt better and better and better, and I had more and more energy, and I started feeling like I got all this downloads of information, and I started seeing reality like I didn't see it before.
Mm.
And then like a little bit ideas about telepathy came up, and my mom could tell that something was off with me. I was like really enjoying myself, but apparently like I was being a bit manic,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would argue with people, and I just like knew it all, and it just like I saw things differently, and I felt like God was communicating with me directly, and like everything that I like it, the ideas that I've had, and the things that I perceived, like they weren't coming from me, they were coming from some other source, and it was just like coming through me.
Mm.
And um after a few days of being there, I finally made plans to, after being at my mom's house for a few days, I made plans to finally go to that place, to that program. And I packed up all my bags and I went there. I took a bus, it was about 2 hours north of where my mom lives. And So I show up there, and there's all these 18, 19-year-olds, and I'm like, 19, almost turning 20. And I basically show up, and I have this whole, like, I see things differently. And like
Mm.
I see basically, like, kind of like I saw beyond the veil. I saw the interconnectedness of everything. I saw
Wow.
like I felt the energy, and I felt how, like, the behind the scenes of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
instead of just being humble or anything like that, I was like, "Oh, you got it all wrong." I was just like talking to all the people and like explaining to them like what reality is all about, and like how, like, and how it's all a game, and how it's all like how we're all just characters, and we're all one, and all that kind of stuff. And I just like would get into these conversations, and like, and I was like had all this energy. Um, And the very next morning, I stayed there one night. The next morning, I went to the 6 a.m. class. There was this class where we would talk about all these mystical ideas from this book, and we would like read a paragraph. I did that the previous year. We would get up at 6
Mm-hmm.
most mornings, and like talk about all these ideas like imagination, and different worlds and stuff like that, and realms of reality. We would read like a paragraph, and we would talk about it. So this class happened at 6, and I was like, of course I'm going to the 6 o'clock class. And this place, like, they were very, like, people wear whatever they want. So I wore this blue bathrobe on top of my clothes because it was just comfy. It's like really fuzzy. How about I just like bring it
Mm.
out? This thing.
Oh, it looks comfy.
Yeah, so I just like wore this thing, and I show up to the 6 o'clock class, and we're talking about all these, mystical ideas, and all of a sudden I have this idea, and I talk to um and the head of the program, he's the one teaching this class, and I'm like I just saw him, and I was like, oh wow, he's like a father figure like I really would like to have in my life. And by the way, my parents are divorced.
Mm.
I grew up with my mom, and my dad was always somewhere in the area, but we weren't like super close. I don't see him like he didn't like raise me directly, but I would visit him a lot. So like
Mm-hmm.
then I see this guy who's the head of the program teaching this class, and I'm like, and then I say like, hey, will you adopt me? And he's like, what? He's like, what are you talking about? And then he just like keeps on with the class. And at the end of the class, I go with him, and he goes to the store to buy like some stuff for his family. And I follow him in there, and like I hear him talking to his wife on the phone, and then like for some reason I was like arguing with him about the stuff he was buying, and how like he was making a mistake, or like that, or something like that. I just like something happened to me, and I was just acting really weird.
Mm.
And he didn't really understand what was going on. He was like, "Here, you want bread? Here, take bread." And he just like gave me the bread that was in his hand, and he like paid and left. And I was like, "Okay, I don't really want the bread," so I just left it there. And then I walk, and I get on this random bus. It takes me somewhere. I get off. I try to go into this place. There was like way more to the story. Like this place had some significance. I was planning on volunteering there prior to this story, and the guards wouldn't let me in because it was not, you know, it was not planned. But I was just like harassing them, trying to find a way in, and then they call the cops, and the cops take me away, um, and they take me to the police station, not far from there, and I'm just like, okay. So I get a ride with the cops, and I'm just like chatting with the cops in the car, and they bring me to the police station. And I'm in the police station, and just like waiting and like figuring out, okay, what next? And they call my dad, and my dad lived not far from there, so
Mm-hmm.
he got on the bus, and then he shows up at the police station, and he picks me up. And so now it's very clear that I was having a psychotic episode.
Mm.
And my dad, when he was young, when he was 18 or 20 years old, he had two different psychotic episodes.
Oh.
And so he basically suddenly he had this perspective, like he kind of had a feeling of what I was going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
so he walked with me to the bus station, and he was kind of like, okay, like you might need some help now, and he was also like very like open-minded, and he takes me to his house with his wife, and and then there was this psychiatric clinic kind of place next to like a walking distance, short walking distance from his house. So we go there, and he wants to get me evaluated, like to see, what kind of help I need. So we walk there, and apparently they weren't so available to receive me properly. So um, basically, we walk in, and my dad. So his Hebrew's not like perfect because like he's an immigrant. He moved here 30 years ago, but his
Yeah.
Hebrew's not his first language. So he's like trying to like explain to the nurse over there or the receptionist like how he wants to get me evaluated, and she's like, okay, like how do you feel? And I was like, I feel pretty good. And she was like, okay, like he can go.
Oh well.
So we go in and out, and so now I'm at my dad's place, and like I'm there for a few days, and I'm like walking around town, um, and coming back there, and to make a long story short, um, I explore town, and I go back and forth, and I go all kinds of places, but um, eventually somebody calls an ambulance, and I end up in a psych ward.
Mm.
Um, like I could talk about this story for way longer. There's so many cool details, but I know that we have a limited time in this podcast, and there's so much more to the story after the
Yeah.
first episode. But I spend a couple months, a month and a half in a closed ward where it's basically just corridors and bedrooms, and the only outdoor space that we can be in is like the basketball court, and that's like with like really high fences, and that's where all the people who smoke cigarettes hang out and smoke, so like there's no fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And
That doesn't sound very
um
healing,
no,
like a healing space
not healing at
for.
all. No.
No, that
That
sounds
was
very
like,
counterproductive.
yeah, it was like the darkest part. Like that was like,
Yeah.
um okay, the adventure's over. Okay, now just like now you're locked up in prison basically, and they're injecting me with these antipsychotic medicines, very very potent stuff, and giving me
Mm-hmm.
pills. And it was just a very very dark place to be in.
Mm.
And it's not just that I was going through something and I was crazy, but I was around all these other crazy people.
Mm.
And it was I like every time they would open the door at first, I would like try to run out, but of course they would close it faster than I could run out. And I would
Mm.
try to find ways that I could maybe get out somehow. But they were going to make sure that wasn't going to happen. So I was in that closed ward for a month and a half, and then when I was calmer, when the drugs were doing their job, and I was not so crazy anymore. But I was very suppressed. The medicines,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of shut down the emotion, they shut down the thoughts, and I basically became very empty. And at
Mm.
that point, they were like, "Okay, you don't have to be in here anymore. Now you could be in the open ward, which is the only difference is that I could walk around outdoors there, but there was still, the fence around the campus, and but we were able to be in open space. I could like lay down in the grass if I wanted to, and I was
Oh.
in the open ward for 2 months. So 3.5 months of totally being in this place.
Did you get also therapy, or were you just locked in and just walking around and I don't know, like, did you get any type of care or consultants? Because I really don't have an idea um, about psychosis. Is that like a bigger term for I don't know, maybe there are sub-diagnoses, or what is it? Because what I've heard before is that you also went through quite a physical trauma due to the parasite, and then also like the medicine, not medicine, but like medicaments that you were taking, the quite high dose, like a lot of physical stress, and then you get to the hospital where they want to give you biological thing, and then all of the sudden it goes like a rush of energy, and you're feeling positive like all the time, or like just like an adrenaline rush. So
Hmm.
I'm curious. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the diagnosis itself, or why it was induced, if you know it. And also your father had like also a historical background with that. So I'm actually very curious, and yeah, how they tried to, if they tried to cure it, how were they dealing with that?
Yeah. So, um, at the hospital, they recommended that I take at the physical hospital. They were recommending that I take the biological medicine for
Mhm.
long term treatment for Crohn's disease.
Mhm.
I didn't take that, but what I did take was for the abscess, the antibiotics. So we
Mm.
all know about the gut brain connection or the microbiome,
Mm.
and you know and we all know that antibiotics, they kill the microbiome. They are
Yeah.
anti-life. So if I take antibiotics, even though we're targeting a specific ailment, we're targeting specific um, um, you know stuff that's harming me. It's also going to kill a lot of stuff that's not harming me.
Yeah,
And
it's addressing the whole system. It's not
yeah,
only
so it's
just for
also
one
our
particular.
So, the microbiome is also in charge of mood. It's also in charge of immune functions, digestion. I'm sure it's in charge of a lot more things.
Mm.
And sure, I was feeling better because I had this toxic stuff in my, the abscess, and they treated that, but they don't think about the side effect very often, which what could happen. For me, that was a very rare side effect because I like that's definitely the thing that triggered it. But another thing is that um, there was also the physical stress, but there was also emotional stress, and
Yeah.
a lot of stress about not knowing what to do with my life, and my life changed, and I was spending a lot of time on the couch, and I was like, and also I wasn't really so grounded or balanced, and I was experimenting with psychedelics every few months. I took LSD or mushrooms, and and I wasn't really balanced. Um, I wasn't grounded enough, and I used to smoke weed pretty often, almost on a daily basis. So, I think that some people are susceptible to psychosis more than others. Some people, can do all the drugs they want, and they'll stay sane, and some
Mm.
people could do something once and become insane. You never
Mm.
know what the kind of what how the thing will affect the person, because there's like a whole range of stuff. And so for me, I think that the trigger, the final trigger, the straw that broke the camel's back was the hospitalization and the antibiotics.
Yeah.
But even if I wouldn't have gone through that, maybe it could have been triggered another time, um, because I had that susceptibility.
Mm.
And my dad, he didn't do any drugs. He wasn't sick physically at his age, but maybe he was under emotional stress, or just
Yeah.
tension and stuff like that, and that's when it happened to him when he was 18.
Yeah.
And in the psychiatric hospital, they at first they suspected schizophrenia, but
Mhm.
schizophrenia, you'd have to have an ongoing psychotic episode or ongoing symptoms for several months at least in order to be diagnosed with that. And for me, it was just very acute. It was just an acute psychosis, and it wasn't like any long-term symptoms. So it was like it was very clear that it was psychosis, but they weren't sure exactly what diagnosis I had, like what mental illness it was. So
Mm.
it was just like the way I see it is just psychosis.
Yeah.
Um, and I- in the closed ward, I didn't really have much. Their main treatment is medicine, antipsychotic medications, and also they also gave me Lurivan, which is like anti-anxiety or something like that, like to
Yeah.
relax, so that I wouldn't be, trying to escape every time I got a chance, so that I could like chillax. Um, yeah, so there were some things that were good in the closed ward, besides the darkness and the claustrophobia and the being stuck with a bunch of crazy people, and being able to see like the office. They had like this glass, like they could see us, but and we could see them, but like they could go in and out of the door and we couldn't go in their office. Like they were
Mm.
watching us. They were just like
Mm.
sitting there in their office on the computer, and they were like watching us.
Okay.
And but the nice things that were there, every I think like 5 days a week we had like 2 hours in the morning of occupational therapy. We had a
Mm-hmm.
room full of games and like art and like opportunity for like to play with stuff and to draw and to color and all that. And we had some an occupational therapist and like students doing like a practicum, like practicing practical work for their degree in occupational therapy, and they were very nice. And like I got like the best treatment from them. It was just like a nice thing to do in the morning for 2 hours, like to talk to someone who cared, or to draw or write or play games with them.
Mm.
That was nice. And also like every almost I think also like 5 days a week we would have someone come from outside for like an hour in the afternoon. And there was one guy that came with all this circus stuff, like juggling and those like different stuff you could play with, and hula hoops and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And he would come with a JBL speaker, and sometimes I had an opportunity to play the music that I liked. And oh, another really shitty thing that happened there is they took away my phone when I went in there. So like I
Mm.
basically like I forgot who I was in a lot of ways. Like I didn't have my YouTube, my music, my friends to communicate with. But also I was pretty insane. Like I would like answer the phone, like they had like one of those um like a
Payphones?
street phone, like a payphone, where it
Yeah.
would ring and people would
Yeah.
call the and then like you would answer, and you don't know who the call is for. It's for
Yeah.
someone in the ward. Yeah, so we would like
Yeah.
answer the phone, and like then if the person, they were calling someone, you could call the person, maybe they'd show up or they didn't hear you, and then they would miss the call.
Yeah.
So like my sister called for my birthday, and my I spent my birthday there. I spent some holidays there. My 20th birthday. I basically got admitted a week before my 20th birthday.
Mm.
And my sister called when I was a weekend, so I was just starting the antipsychotic medication. I was still kind of crazy at the same time. And she called and she was like singing me happy birthday. And I really enjoyed that she called, and like I sang with her, and I just kept singing and kept singing and kept singing. And she mentioned the story like several months later, and how like it was very sad for her because like she called, and at first it was nice that we were singing happy birthday together, but then I wouldn't stop singing, and she wanted to talk to me, but I wasn't there. I was just like singing, 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 and eventually I hung
Mm.
up the phone.
Okay.
Like she wasn't. I was unreachable at that point.
Yeah.
Also, like belongings, like I didn't know what was mine, what wasn't mine. I showed up at the ward with no shoes. I didn't know where my shoes were, and like I had no shoes of my own, and I would just like wear other people's shoes, and like belonging was just like I lost my things. I picked up things of other people.
Mm.
Like it was just like very weird space, and in there. There was also going back to like the good things that were there. There was a guy that came, an older guy that came, and he did like qigong,
Mhm.
and that was very nice, like Tai Chi Qigong.
Mhm.
And every time he would come, every time any of these people would come, I would be there. I would be there in that like open space, and like I would practice with them because like here I have a chance for some sanity, I have a chance for some healing work. And
Mm.
one person, she came and she did like a dance class. She would come with a speaker and she would like, show us all these dance moves. And only a few people would show up, but I would show up every single time, no matter how crazy I was or how sad I was. If somebody came to dance with me or to like play with like some circus stuff or to do qigong, or I would be there. And those were like the little glimpses of light in that dark space.
So you did you know like what was going on with you in a way, or were you just like completely out of it and you had like an intuition to do these classes, or was it rather to just get like some change in this rather constant and like plain environment?
Um, I didn't really know what was wrong with me.
Mm.
Like I was just like Dr. Joe says, like if you want to read the label, you have to go outside the jar.
Yeah.
So I was in the jar. Like people outside could see how crazy I was, but I was just like I was in the craziness.
Yeah.
I couldn't look at myself from outside. So for me,
Mm.
it was just like everything was constantly changing, and like I didn't know where I was, why I was there. Like there was also like a line for the showers. Like we would all, I wasn't like in a guy's ward, and like we would all like stand in line naked to go in the showers, and like it was just like very weird.
Mm.
Like and at a certain time, like at 7 p.m., like that was shower time. Now everybody like stand in line, take off your clothes, take a quick shower, and like put on your clothes and like continue your evening.
Mm.
Everybody standing in line to get their drugs at the same time. It was just like very weird space, and I had no idea what was going on at some times.
Mm.
Where was I? How did I get there? Who was I? Um, like my personality wasn't there so much.
Yeah.
I was just like somebody else. I was just like I had no idea what was going on big part of the time. But also like I like qigong. I like fun people.
Yeah.
I like people who treat me well. So that's just like if somebody's gonna come do that, so I'm gonna be there no matter. It just like why not? Like
Yeah.
so that's what I did. Um,
Amazing.
yeah. And then at the open ward, a lot of these activities weren't there, so like it was a lot more dead time. A lot of time just
Mhm.
like to lay on the grass or to like. I mean, there was a guy that I played cards with a little bit, and there were some people that I had conversations with, um, but it was a lot of it was just like from meal to meal, like from
Mm.
breakfast to lunch to dinner, and like dead time in between.
Mm.
But there I did get a psychologist, I think twice a week that I would talk to for those 2 months. And we were kind of like processing what had happened in the psychotic episode. And eventually, like I was just like really calm, but I felt empty.
Mhm.
So I was not crazy anymore, but I was kind of depressed.
Yeah.
They suppressed all the symptoms, but they also suppressed me.
Yeah.
And then the psychiatrist said, "Okay, like I think you're ready to go home." So the only release paper they gave me, they didn't give me like a whole summary of how I showed up and the process I went through or any of that. They gave me one paper. Halidol, the name of the drug, the dose. Go to a psychiatrist every month. Take this injection once a month. This is your medicine for life.
So wait, they suppress all the emotions with those heavy medications, and then you're feeling like somewhat calm, but you still haven't processed anything that actually happened to you or got you here in the first place.
It's not only that. Like the psychologist that was talking with me, I think that she's there for me, and if anything comes up,
Yeah.
like well trained and she could help me with inner stuff. But once I get out, like their only thing is they don't want people walking around. They don't want
Mm.
insane people walking around. So if I got there when I was insane, and like when I had no idea who I was or what I was doing, then they just want to make sure that that didn't happen again. So their only instructions for me outside was see a psychiatrist every month, take this drug, and like that's your protocol. Once a month, because I told them I don't want to take pills every day. So because I didn't want to take pills every day, they just like left me on the injection that's once every 28 days. Every 4 weeks you have to take this injection, and it's so potent that the effect
That it knocks you
lasts.
out for the next
Yeah.
month, basically.
And also another thing is, remember I was physically ill when very short time before I was in a hospital. A few weeks later I was in a psych ward. And I was underweight before, right? So I got there, I was very skinny when I got there. 3.5 months after that, I'm chubby. I was skinny when I got there. Within 3.5 months, I was chubby. I went up over 25 kilos in 3.5 months.
That's insane.
3.5
Wow.
months.
That's insane.
So, you know how oftentimes you see people who are kind of round, kind of chubby, and kind of slow? And
Yeah.
oftentimes the people that are like, that have some sort of like mental illness, or like, people who have struggled with like being in and out of psych wards and stuff, oftentimes they're overweight, and a big part of that is the medication. It slows the metabolism. It slowed the metabolism so much, and also, of course, having 3 meals a day, and making that was the most interesting thing to do a lot of the time, like just to eat, because there was nothing going on most of the time.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is that when I was skinny before the psych ward, and I was like eating 5 meals a day, nothing was happening, and I was going up very, very, very slowly. But here I'm in a psych ward in 3.5 months, and I'm chubby, and I was never chubby before that. I was always kind of thin my whole life. That was the fattest I was at the end of the psych ward. And they told me that they would book me an appointment with a psychiatrist, and they didn't. So I was like, well, if they're not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. So I left, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to see a psychiatrist. These medications are bad for me. I'm going to try to like detox and restart my life and see how I can do better. And a nice thing that happened there is that they helped me with bureaucracy, with getting like money from the government for basically being disabled for what I went through in that time. So I was getting some money from the government, so I didn't have to work as much, so I could kind of like focus on my healing. So the first place I go to after being discharged and going home is I go to this farm that I knew about, where they had these retreats for cleansing, for like like eating very, very healthy, and having like different classes and learning about health, and about doing breath work and doing some meditation, and good lectures, and very good diet. So I went and volunteered in one of those events, like working in the kitchen, and participating and eating the food, and the smoothies and the juices, and basically just like being able to go to a thing like that for free, when usually it costs a lot. So I stayed there, and then they told me, hey, there's this other event for young people, and it's subsidized. It costs very cheap, and it's like 10 days. And I was like, oh, cool. So I go back home, and then I go back there, and I'm like at this 10-day event, also like self-exploration and stuff, young people around my age. And then they tell me, hey, you want to do another one? So I do another one. And I was thinking about like moving there, and like working there, like, or volunteering there, and like for room and board. And eventually I decided to, after like a month of spending a lot of the month in that place, and like being reintroduced to life, and also at this point, like, how I'm very chatty, I like to talk. So when I got discharged, I would meet my friends, and they were like, hey, what's up? And I would be like, okay. It's like, what do you think about this? I don't know. Like, I didn't really have much of a personality, I didn't really have many thoughts or feelings or like I was very, very slow. And this
Mm,
lasted for a few months. Like slowly after the hospitalization, I started feeling more and more like myself. And that month was
mm,
very good for like recovery. And like
mm.
after being in a psych ward for 3.5 months, being in a month in a like a healing environment with like
Yeah.
nice people who with like good classes and good vibes, and doing some rebirthing breath work and doing some meditation and some interesting classes. And then eventually I um, still had this like part of me that was not satisfied with life. And when people offered me to smoke weed, maybe the first couple of times I said no, but then I was like, okay, fuck it. And then I went back to smoking weed. And a few months later, I was like, yeah, I'll try LSD. Yeah, I'll try mushrooms. So then I went back to like kind of like my old ways.
Mm,
But I was feeling more and more like myself. I went south into the desert and I tried working at this place. I lasted there for 2 weeks. Then I went to this other place to, also in the desert, to pick dates as a job.
mm-hmm.
And I was there with a good friend of mine, and I was there for the rest of the season, basically a month. And I was basically just like hopping from place to place, spending a few weeks here, a few weeks there, and because the place I lived was my mom's place, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to stay on the couch for too long, so I would just like hop from place to
Sure.
place. And within a few months, I started feeling more and more like myself, and I was like open to what's next. And I would like go. I did the different festivals, and I went to a rainbow gathering, basically camping in the woods with a bunch of hippies. I spent 2.5 weeks there. It felt very good, and and eventually, um, COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
2020. I was um, I was 21 years old, and and then something started to happen again in my mental state, and it also started with like heightened emotions and like but also some confusion. Also, I want to say the first psychotic episode, like I did talk about all the like euphoria that I had, but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
only euphoria. It was also
Yeah.
it was some confusion and a little bit of paranoia and like visions and like made up like it was not very clear. Everything would like change very quickly. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was very unstable. So then it started happening again, but this time I knew that I didn't want to go to a psych ward again. When it
Yeah.
happened, I was staying at a friend's house. She had like an open house, and she told me like, "Hey, like I have an extra room in my house. You can stay here for as long as you want." And that's where it happened. I was staying at her place, and suddenly I started losing grip with reality. And we had some guests, and like I that was the last time that I smoked weed because I was already feeling like I needed to take a break from the weed, and like my
Mm.
stuff was I was like kind of like my stash was running out, and I was like, okay, that's good. Like when we run out of weed, that's when we'll take a break. And then I ran out of weed, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break now. And then we had some guests over, and this is lockdown. The entire world's in lockdown. So like we're basically spending a lot of time in her apartment, sometimes walking around the neighborhood, but like mainly in her apartment. And we had some guests that came over. They were like nomads traveling around. And then he brings his bong and his weed, and he's like very much into bongs. He said that like many people had their first bong rip with him,
Mm.
and I had my last bong rip with him.
Okay, so after that you decided, hell
I don't
no,
need this anymore.
no more, no
Yeah,
more.
so I was kind of like a little bit anxious and a little bit like a little bit confused, and like things were feeling a little bit weird.
Yeah,
And then when I took that bong rip, that was like I couldn't be around people. Like I
it was
felt too weird.
overwhelming.
It was
Yeah.
overwhelming, and I go outside to the woods, and I was lucky that there was some nature very close at the neighborhood where she lived. And I just like I was like losing I was losing my grip with reality. Like I felt like I was falling between the cracks. Like I felt like again, like seeing beyond the veil, like how everything's an illusion. And I had my phone with me, and I was just like writing, typing, and I'm bilingual. I speak English and Hebrew, so I was like typing in English, and then like I would have like a thought in Hebrew, and I would just like switch to Hebrew and type, and I would switch to English and type, and like I have it all here. I have it all in my Google Notes.
Mm.
So like it's all there. Like I have. It was the end of March, the beginning of lockdown, and I just had all my thoughts and emotions and like this whole experience. I just like recorded it all. I also have a little like a notepad where I also, for that week that I was there at her place, like I have a whole notepad that starts off right before the episode and it goes like into the peak. Like I wrote every day then, or almost every day, and I have a lot of the first time I have mainly memory. The second time I also have like stuff that I wrote and recorded, so that's pretty cool.
And then
So
after, like, when you lost grip with reality again, I guess you recovered after that. I'm curious when you decided, or like when it went, like, did your healing journey then came kind of natural because you decided to stay away from these things like weed and stuff, or when did it change where you were becoming more grounded again? What
yeah,
initiated the
so I
process?
needed help,
Yeah,
but I didn't want to be in a psych ward because that didn't help me.
yeah,
I didn't want to take those same medications. I didn't want to be in that environment. I wanted to be in a healing path. And my friend, she's a good friend, and she was like, "Don't worry, you're here. Like, you're in a good place. Like, I'm not gonna send you to a psych ward. Like, you're here. It's okay." And like, I kind of like, I knew that I was what I was experiencing. Like, I knew that I was in a different kind of consciousness. I was like in an expanded consciousness, but I was also very not grounded, and I was like somewhere out there. But I was more balanced in a way that I was not going to go on some random adventure like I did the
yeah.
first time, because I
Mm,
knew that that would have consequences. I knew that no matter how far I go from her house, walking around the neighborhoods or the woods or whatever, I would always go back to her house. I would not go, um, you know, I would not go argue with strangers or something like that
yeah,
because like I knew that it would have consequences. So I kind of like stayed close to her house and went back every day. And sleep was a problem. Couldn't really fall asleep, and that was a very um, like I went through a lot, but I s- I didn't want to have the consequences of being locked up again. And she was in contact with my mom, and at some point she needed to focus on her studies, and it would just became too much to have me around for so long. So my mom drove for 2 hours, picked me up, drove back, and I couldn't really sleep. And my mom knew that sleep is a big issue,
yeah.
and we go to a doctor, and and the doctor prescribes me with these antipsychotic medications, this pill that I could take. And even though my mom is a big fan of natural remedies, she knew that this is like a severe thing, and she just wanted me to be okay. So we took I took the medication, and my mom took care of me and nourished me and all that. And I'm very grateful for her and for my friend because they looked up what could be an alternative to a psych ward for me, and they found a balance house, which is like the best thing ever for people going through extreme mental issues. Um, and I was very lucky because this was a new balance house. I don't know, like maybe most people don't know what it is, but it's like relatively new. And what it is it's like a home, and it's a very nice environment, and just a few people there. I was in a new one, so it had like room for up to 7 people, but there were only 2 people there when I showed up. And it was lockdown, so everybody was locked out. Like, everybody was home. I was just in this balance home. And the psychiatrist there, as soon as I got there, like I was getting the previous doctor prescribing with 10 milligrams of this Zyprexa, this medicine, antipsychotic drug. And as soon as I got there, the psychiatrist was like, "You need 5 a day, not 10."
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay,
And
nice.
yeah, and he was like, "Okay, you're gonna be here for a month and a half, 45 days," and it was just a very nice environment, and there was two people there at all times that were like not, healthcare professionals or anything like that. They were
Yeah.
just like people there to be supportive, and like they made lunch and they made good meals, like homemade stuff, and we played games, and there were some, I spent time like reading books, and I would get up in the morning and do some yoga in the yard, and it was just like a house. We'd have bedrooms and a kitchen and a living room,
Mm-hmm.
and we had someone come once a week and like do like a movement class, like a movement therapy class, and it was just like a very nice place to be, and where we started just like three of us, and we were four of us that were there. It was very spacious. We went once in a while. We went to nature. We walked around the neighborhood together. It was just like a very, very good supportive healing space.
Were you able to access those underlying emotions, like addressing some things that you were trying to covering up with the weed or the other substances that you take back in the path? Because you were saying you felt like underneath you still felt a little bit like hollow or just empty.
The emptiness that I was mentioning before that was extreme was mainly from the
Oh, from
from
the
the
depressive.
psych ward,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
medicine and the. Well, of course, there is this feeling inside that
Mm.
sometimes, but not as extreme as it was
Okay.
when I was in the psych ward. But here I felt like I was in a very supportive, good environment, and I did have
Mm.
meetings with a social worker, kind of like talking about my story, where I came from, and all that. And they also told me like if you wanna thrive, like you gotta stay away from these
Mm.
substances. Like you gotta stay away from weed. You gotta stay away from psychedelics. The psychiatrist said like, okay, if you want to drink some alcohol, it's okay if you have like if you have a beer a week, if you have a glass of wine a week, it's okay. Just like don't go overboard with that, but like stay away from all the other drugs.
Mm.
And within that month and a half, the psychiatrist reduced my dose from 5 milligrams to 2.5 milligrams, like within a month.
Wow.
And I was feeling better and better. So like the previous time, it took me like a long time, and it took me like several months to feel like I finally recovered. Here, within a month, I was feeling a lot better.
Mm.
I didn't feel any side effects because the dose was so low, and I was getting a lot of, I was getting good treatment, and then we also had
Yes.
calls with the family, like we'd have like Zoom calls with a therapist and with both my parents, and we would like talk about things, and this is like weird because both my parents, like my parents wouldn't talk usually, and now we
Mm-hmm.
were in a call with both my parents. So that was like a full circle kind of moment. It felt pretty
uh,
good. And within that time period, I was trying to think about what I would do next. And like they were trying to think about programs that could support me to kind of like keep things together and like to stay grounded in the future. Um, and then they offered me a job there.
Ooh, amazing.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I think that's so wholesome in a way, and I really love about this house is like that you that it was like a healing environment, that it was like an actual house, like somewhere where you can feel home, not like sterile hospital walls or like in a ward, which is actually something where you can feel at home and at peace, and having a therapist that cares and reduces your medicaments when it was time to do so, and then you become someone to be able to serve someone else. That is beautiful. And whenever people open up about their stories, I feel like it's so powerful because other people who are in the space can relate, and then they kind of see, I'm not alone, and there are also other people who went through this. So I'm so grateful that you are talking about this story. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing to hear that you became like a healer for other people. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so in that space, the job was basically there was like two people, 24/7, two people that were just
Mm-hmm.
that were not therapists, they were not healers, they were just like there to be with the people who resided in the place, who were getting help. So they were just like we were just like there for them, like the same
Yeah,
way that people were there for me. I was just there for them,
yeah,
making lunch and making sure that
yeah.
the house was kind of clean and hanging out with them and playing ping pong with them. I love ping pong.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, like playing games, picking up a guitar, singing some
Yeah,
songs. Um, Basically, just at first it was very weird being in like the transition of like I was in this place with these people, and now I'm there with a title of like working at the place.
mm-hmm.
And the reason why they gave me the job within like 2 weeks after being discharged from that place, after
Wow.
being released, the reason was for me because they wanted to keep me close and they didn't want me to be too bored or to have like no structure.
Oh
Because what
yeah,
would I do? I moved to this town for this place. It was a new town. I
yeah.
didn't have any friends over there, and I moved there to work in this place, but I had no structure. So in order to keep me kind of like to keep for my best interest, they they made it very quick, and 2 weeks after I was released, I was working there. And the people who took care of me now they were my colleagues and my friends, and we would hug each other and we would enjoy each other's
Mm.
company. And that time I started looking into what I wanted to study and what I wanted to where I wanted to take my life. So I knew that I wanted to work with people. I knew that I wanted to be some sort of work in some sort of healing modality. So I checked out different colleges and different programs, and I started working. I started learning shiatsu. Shiatsu is a Japanese method of basically it's kind of like massage, but it's more like acupressure. It's based in Chinese medicine. For those watching video, the poster behind me, that's a meridian map of the
Mm.
body, and that's from the
Mm.
school that I went to study shiatsu. So it's working in the meridians, working at different points, and so I started this learning this thing, and I spent the next 3.5 years learning shiatsu and practicing and eventually working. Now that's my main source of income, the shiatsu work, and now I worked there for 2.5 years in this place, the place that kind
Mm.
of helped me switch the direction of my life. And within a year of being there, of working there, the first year I kind of met someone and we started going out. And after a year and a half of going out with each other, I moved to where she lived. I moved in with her, and that's when I stopped working there. Um, and then eventually, we lived with each other. We lived together for a year, and then we broke up and went our separate ways. Um, but yeah, that was like a big switch in my life. That balance
Mm.
home. That was like the moment where my life went from lost and confused to having purpose and meaning and direction and stability.
Wow.
And
Yes.
that's when I started building it in 2020. Basically, it's 5
That's
years ago.
yeah. Wow.
I haven't
What would
had
you
another
say?
I didn't have another hospitalization since, by the way. Not physical
That's
and not
amazing.
mental.
That's so amazing. I love and I was really like when you first told me your story, I was like I couldn't see that in the personality that like in your current personality, so I was so astonished, like surprised what you have gone through and where you are now. And he's, I mean, you can feel it already, but like I've met him. I'm a lucky person. I met him in person, and he's such a loving soul and so grounded. I loved having conversations with you, and I felt like you're such a great listener. You're a person that I would like to turn to when I'm going through something, because I know I would be safe, and I know you have a huge heart. You have a huge heart, and I know I just would be in safe hands, and just like would receive loving and honest advice. So it makes me so happy that where you are right now, and I'm so grateful that I have met you.
I'm so grateful for you, Anne-Sophie, and for the messages that you're bringing out to the world, and the questions that you ask. And you're an amazing listener, by the way. Like, yeah.
Thank you.
So, most of this episode, most of this conversation, I talked about from the struggle, from being, 19, 20, 21, those years that were very challenging. And then kind of like I went up to the switch when things started to change. But now there's all this, like the last 5 years, I didn't say anything. So I want to like quickly kind of like move forward with the story.
How did the Balance House change your thoughts and feelings? You were in a very healing environment, so I'm kind of interested in the internal evolution, because you spent there like a month, it was, I believe?
A month and a half.
Yes, a month and a half. And that's quite a significant change. Maybe you can elaborate on that. I would love to hear that.
So I think that what I got there was people that saw the best in me. And I got hope, and I got true rest, and also people say like the transformation that I had was very big, and a lot of people don't believe that it's possible for them. Like from where I was between the age of 19 and 21, and then who I was from 21 onwards. But also in my first episode, I always had a belief in life. Also when I was physically ill, before that, I always had a belief in life. I believed that things would get better. Even like as a child, when I was going through struggles with, social things, or with, when I wasn't in bad places in life, I always had this belief that things would get better, that life gets better from year to year, that that things get better. And I think that belief is something that always helped me move forward in difficult situations, and believe that things would get better, and then find ways for things to get better. At that place, like I just felt like I was in a safe environment, caring environment. People actually saw me, whereas in the psych ward they just saw me as a number, or as a name, or as a symptoms that needed suppressing. And here they didn't care about suppressing symptoms. They cared about empowering and about bringing out, helping you. Yeah, the best of me. So they actually cared about me. They actually, as a person, not as just someone taking up a room. I got very lucky. It's kind of a new concept. It's becoming very popular in Israel, so there's a few of them, but I got very lucky because the one that I went to, it was relatively new, and when I went there, it was when they had just signed with my healthcare provider.
Whoa, okay.
So
amazing.
Originally it would have cost like over 200 euros a day. And if you're there for a month, that's a lot of money. If you're there for a month and a half, that's a lot of money. But a very short amount of time before I needed it was when they had just signed with my healthcare provider. So I got to go for free for 45 days because that's what the healthcare provider signed with them. And I was very, very lucky because I only had to wait like a week and a half or 2 weeks for the bureaucracy to settle. But and there were only 2 other people there that they were also from the same healthcare provider that I was at. Before that, there was only 1 person or 2 people that were actually had the ability to pay that amount of money. But now, later on, there were 7 beds there, 4 bedrooms, 1 bedroom with 1 bed, 3 bedrooms with 2 beds. I had a bedroom for myself with 2 beds. I could sleep one night on that bed, another night on the other bed, if I wanted to. I had the whole room to myself. Later on, after I started working there were 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, 7 people. The house was full later on.
Yeah.
And then they signed with the other healthcare providers. And now, if you want to go to a place like that here, there's a few of them around the country.
Yeah.
And there are more and more, and they're trying to sign with the healthcare providers because nobody can afford it without. But there's now, even when I was working there was a 2, 3, 4 month waiting list.
Wow,
and the house was always full. I just got very, very lucky that it was new and that they had just signed with my healthcare provider just before I went.
That was arranged for you.
Yeah. And also when I was working there, at first it was very confusing for me because I was just there receiving help, and now I was there getting paid to help others. And I didn't exactly know what to do, or if I had the ability to actually help them, or what was my job supposed to be, because I was just my job was basically to hang out with them and make sure everything's okay. But it felt kind of weird, the transition of 2 weeks ago I was hanging out here and living here, and now I'm coming here and getting paid to be here. And at first I was I told the people that that worked with me, or my boss, and I told her I don't know what to do. It's I'm not sure if I'm doing my job right, or how am I supposed to do it. And she was don't worry, take your time, you're okay. She was very reassuring, and they were very supportive, the other workers, take it easy, you're okay, everything's okay. And then it took me a few months to get the confidence to actually feel like I'm doing my job properly, and then the feedback came later.
Beautiful.
But they were just a very, very supportive environment to kind of transition from someone who's mentally, emotionally incapable to someone who's actually capable of helping others. And that gave me meaning and,
yes,
direction.
Amazing. That is really awesome. Thank you so much. We are definitely going to do a part 2, so stay tuned. And I know you can already take away so many things from this episode. And in the next episode, we are going to dive in where he went from being healed to 5 years later, 4 years later.
This was 5 years ago. I was at the first few months working at this place.
Okay,
5 years ago.
5 years later now to now. And I'm so beyond excited to hear that part and to listen to the second part of his journey back to wholeness. Thank you so much for listening. And I see you in the next one. Bye.